Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 101 of the Podcana podcast. This week, we're going to be taking a look at some of the most interesting cards that we've picked out from the newest set, Reign of Jafar. And we're also going to be taking a look at some of the top performing decks from some recent set championships that took place last weekend. As always, I'll encourage you guys to comment down below on maybe if we've missed some certain cards that you guys are interested to hear our thoughts on. That would be greatly appreciated. And of course, it just gives us more stuff to talk about, more interesting cards to debate, see whether this is good or whether this is bad. So that would be a great help to us. Before that, I actually have some news. It's pretty impactful news in my life. I will be starting a new job very, very soon. I'm finishing my job this week. And in early June, I'm going to be moving to Berlin, which is where Moyen is. And yeah, I got a job with Cardmarket, which I'm sure many of you guys know Cardmarket. I'm sure many of you guys buy singles on Cardmarket, get a lot of your cards there. I'm going to be their new social media strategist starting in June. And I couldn't be happier. It's somewhat of a dream job. For me. Not only will I have the chance to work on Disney Lorcana, but I'll also have the chance to work on many other TCGs, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, all that type of stuff. And it just gives me the opportunity to learn a lot more about those games as well, which is pretty cool. I feel like when you're a TCG player, most of the time you're very focused on one, maybe two games, because at the end of the day, that's all we can really afford to play, you know, financially and time wise, right? Like, people don't have time to play all of these different games consistently. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll get to hang out with Moyen a little bit more. Maybe we can do 1 or 2 episodes of like an in-person podcast, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I do want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who watches the podcast, because I do think this is a part of a reason why I was chosen for the role. You know, this clearly showcases how much of a passion I have for the TCG industry. Not only do I already work within the tabletop gaming industry, but, you know, myself and Moyen doing this podcast on the side, I think that's helped a lot for sure. So, yeah, Moyen, I'm going to pass it over to you, because we've been talking about this for a little bit, but it's nice to hear that it's actually finally happened, because we've been like, oh, maybe this will happen, maybe this will be great. And it's like, well, it's all a maybe until it happens. And now it's happened. So, yeah, I guess this means more tournaments, more Lorcana for us to kind of play together and travel together, right?
Yeah, it feels a bit surreal. But yeah, I'm extremely happy to get to spend more time with you.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll have all of the stress of moving and getting, you know, documents and paperwork sorted, but that comes with the job, you know. So once again, thank you to all of you guys who just watch the podcast in general, because I truly don't think I could have done it without all of the support that you guys have given us. Okay, so moving into things, firstly, we are going to jump into our Spilled Ink section. This is our listener question section. If you guys want to have your questions read out on next week's episode of the podcast, be sure to pop a comment down below. This first one is from Andrew. They say, "Ha, guys, I'm cool with the idea of rotation, but I'm very concerned about the lack of removal we are losing from the 4 sets. I feel without it, aggro is going to get a lot of support, which is just going to dominate. It's going to dominate the meta, which for a lot of people is not enjoyable. Of course, they could reprint a lot of the removal, but then what is the point of rotation if we're just going to keep going to be playing the same removal cards? Keep up the good work. Love you guys." Yeah, I mean, I think I said this during the episode 100 when we had Kim, Ali, and Harlan on. When you look at that block of, you know, sets 5 to 8, obviously we've finally seen all of the set 8 cards now. But you're thinking about sets 5 to set 7 and thinking, okay, how many good removal cards are in these sets? Not many come to mind. Basically none, actually, if you really think about it, in my mind, because you'll think about a lot of staple removal cards. Like, let's take Zeus, for example, set 3, right? Let's take Brawl, the definitive, like, you know, badly statted removal card that nobody likes to play, but it's very much within the meta. We saw it as like a necessary evil. We have to play the card, right, to remove certain stuff. Even cards like Smash from set 1, we don't know if that's going to get a reprint. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. We could see the big board wipe like B-Prep. If that gets removed, that's going to change the meta up completely. And I do think yeah, like if a card like B Prep does get removed as we come into rotation and a similar card isn't reprinted, then yeah, I do think aggro decks will have a better time to shine overall. There's not really going to be this opportunity that you can, kind of ignore what your opponent is doing as they're being a bit aggressive. You ramp to your big removal tool and then you kind of clear the board. So, but I also trust that we will get cards like this over time. Maybe that initial, meta of sets 5 to 9 might feel like, oh, we've lost all of our removal. But again, we don't know what's being reprinted and what's not being reprinted. So, yeah, what are your thoughts, Moyen?
Well, in general, I feel that sentiment. I am scared of aggro being too dominant, at least as long as aggro remains kind of the same uninteresting play pattern it resembles right now. And there is a lot of removal being phased out, but okay, so if you look at this, there was like a lot of incredible removal in the first few sets. Like Storm Mage on Strength, Zeus, all of those. And then it almost felt like those were so good. How would you print removal that's relevant, that's going to compete with these without like kind of making removal too strong, which maybe it already was. Which, okay, this might come off weird because like in general removal is very overpriced in Lorcana, but there's still just because of the song mechanic.
Yeah,
there's still a lot of tempo to be
exception.
gained from the removal songs. So I would personally feel like maybe design space was quite restricted because of cards like Strength, Storm, and with those rotating out, there's a lot of space for different ways or different types of removals to be printed. So because part of this question was like, okay, if they're just going to reprint that removal, then what's the point of rotation? But I think like there's so many ways to design removal, and it will, even if they reprint removal or like if they print some new removal, I think it will be distinctly different enough where it will feel different again and create some new gameplay experience.
For sure. Yeah, no, definitely. The next comment is from Dermot. They just say, "What's this sausage party?" When it was the three of us on last week. Yeah, I talked to Moyen about it. Like literally as soon as we finished recording last week's episode with Brendan. I really do miss Brendan. I know you guys miss him as well. He brings something to this podcast that myself and Moyen oftentimes don't have. There's this energy that Brendan brings, and like as much as you guys want him back, like we want him on as much as possible as well. So rest assured, if there's ever an opportunity that we can have Brendan on, of course, if there's ever the opportunity that we can test him on cards that he has no knowledge on, and we can bait him into giving some bad takes, of course I'll take the opportunity to do that. But yeah, it's always nice when he comes back on. So yeah, just like rest assured, we love having him on just as much as you guys. But we also want to keep the podcast going, and we don't want to stop just because the three of us can't be on together every week, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, this comment, I picked it up because it was so funny to me. It was like, so we had 2 episodes, like basically 2 episode 100s. They like one day after the other. One of them you did with Kim,
Harlan,
Ali, and Harlan. And like the day after we do the episode where finally Brent's back as us 3 as well, and suddenly it's like, what's this sausage party? So I hope that was like intended as part of the joke, but either way, that was just a very, very funny comment to me.
For sure, yeah. Well, yeah, it's a short building section this week. Gave us a bit of a laugh. Again, be sure to comment down below your thoughts on maybe some of the cards that we're discussing this week. Even thoughts on like deck lists that you guys have been playing as set champs. We love to hear from you guys, and the more comments, the more for us to discuss, which is always a great thing. All right, so moving into the main topics, we're gonna switch the scene over to talk about some of the most interesting cards that we've picked out from the newest set, Reign of Jafar.
Okay, so for this section, we haven't really picked out this like top list of these are the greatest cards. We've kind of just looked at some cards and said, okay, what cards are interesting to look at in the context of what could be playable in this current meta, and in the back of our mind also maybe what cards could form like an interesting base for the upcoming metas post rotation. And the first 2 cards we're looking at are Tramp and Ludwig van Drake.
Yep.
I think the Tramp is like one of the flashiest cards, as it's like so easy to see the high ceiling of this. When you do play this, and when they can't immediately remove this, but you can kind of like be aggressive enough to force your opponent to remove with the rest of your board first before they can then deal with your Tramp. Especially when shifting it early, I think it provides a way for Amber Emerald to keep being aggressive to the board, but just kind of being resilient to board clears with the Tramp.
For sure. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And like we talked about, like even the worst case scenario of if they have to pump some removal into this, which would the best way to get rid of this would be the strength-based removal. You still get a card out of it, which is actually huge. Like, again, it's one of the few cards within Lorcana that says it's whenever one of your characters is banished, not whenever one of your other characters is banished. So that's really important to keep an eye on. And overall, yeah, it's just a super solid body if you can get this out on turn 4 by shifting it. I think you're definitely in a winning position at that stage of the game for sure.
Yes. We have to keep in mind, like, as good as the card is, in a format with like Brawl, Medusa, Sisu, I think I still struggle to see too much competitive play, even if it slots into like a somewhat viable deck right now in Chernadox. But after that, I could see this being a powerhouse of a card.
Sure. The next card we're looking at is, Ludwig von Drake. 2-cost Inkable, 1/1 Amber Sapphire card, quest for 1. The ability, when you play this character, chosen opponent reveals their hand and discards a non-character card of your choice. So this is a bare necessities on a body. And it also has, when this character is banished, you may put this card into your Inkwell face down exerted, which is the Grama Tala effect from set 1. So overall, if you think about what this card is doing, yeah, it has like two very, very good effects attached to it. It's a bare necessities on a body, a small body at that, but then when that body dies, you get to ramp as well. So, yeah, I really, really like this card. The downside, I guess, right now at least, is it's an Amber Sapphire card. So Amber Sapphire still at the moment seems to be struggling. We did get a lot of I would say interesting Amber Sapphire cards this set and in the previous set, but most of them are kind of like puppy support cards, which the puppy deck, sure, it's probably fun to play and can do somewhat powerful things if you synergize that, if you happen to draw like really, really well and stuff. But ultimately, yeah, like the Amber Sapphire deck, it still lacks a lot of removal. And I think I think though, I don't know, like in the rotation, if we get some more pretty good Amber Sapphire cards, or just solid Amber and Sapphire cards, maybe a little bit more removal in some way, this card seems very good then. Like, I think as soon as we start to see Amber Sapphire become like a proper viable color combination, then yeah, this slots into probably nearly all of the decks, I'm guessing. I don't know, but I really like the card once the color combination kind of gets to be fleshed out a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah, the card definitely looks crazy with just like it does so much. That's at least that's what I feel like for like a 2-cost to have that on-play effect and the Grammatata effect. Yeah. That being said, I like, okay, right now Amber Sapphire is just not really a color combination that inherently works. Mm-hmm. If it was to work, I guess it could still be difficult to play this in a format where you can also ramp onto. Sure. And then most of the time I would rather ramp onto than play this. And then when I do ramp onto, playing this uninkable card that I don't really want to play onto could still be an issue, but like in general I think the card's great. And I hope Amber Sapphire gets playable at some point, because now I have like 2 cards I really, really like in Amber Sapphire. Oh, Restoring the Heart, right? Yeah. And Restore Your Heart. Mm-hmm. And Restore Your Heart, great card. Just cheap action, heals for 3, draws a card. Like, what more can you want? But the problem, there's very big problems for Amber Sapphire in like the inherently anti-synergetic combination of the 2 ink combinations or ink identities, which prevents me from getting too hyped about good Amber Sapphire cards. But I hope we at some point we like cross the threshold of this color combination doing something.
I think that's a great point you made, and I didn't really think about it too much. That while this card, like you said, it has some really cool effects for the cost, and it seems really powerful. Even after this initial set of rotation, we're still gonna have Tipo on sale in the meta. So does this really replace Tipo and Sale? I don't think so. Now that I really think about it, I don't think you're playing this over Tipo and Sale because it doesn't do something. Well, actually, it does do something immediately. It does do something impactful. But if you're really trying to go for your 1-2 into your 4 ink turns, then this is probably not what you're looking to do.
Yeah, because as long as you can build around that, you kind of want to build around that.
Sure.
And if you do build around that, then this doesn't really fit. But like, okay, that's the boring stuff. Still, the card looks good.
Sure. The next two that we're going to be looking at is it's Lady and Into the Unknown. So Lady is a 3-cost inkable 2/2 amber card that quests for 2. It says when you play this character, you may play a character with cost 2 or less for free. Yeah, everyone was kind of freaking out when they saw this card, and I don't blame them for freaking out. This seems like a very, very powerful effect. Of course, like the most obvious thing is you can just instantly dump this into any type of aggro amber package, because you can, like, you're getting 2 cards out for 1 basically. Like it seems really, really, really strong. I don't know how much you want to play this in like a amber steel build that's like the song version, because usually you want to be playing more singer cards and really useful cards. But you could play like maybe 1 or 2 of these, especially if you play like some piglets or maybe some cards that you want to close the game out with. But overall, it seems like a super solid card. Is there any particular build besides just general aggro decks do you see this shining in, Moyen?
But I think this shines when... Okay, so the strength of this is flooding the board and being aggressive. The weakness of this is kind of one out of cards.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that gives utility or card draw would pair with this really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine just like Amber Steel an aggressive Amber Steel deck with like Dog.
Mm-hmm.
I think cheating a Dog out with this, or just cheating out anything and then following it up with a Dog shortly after. I think that looks very, very powerful.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Next card is a Blurple card. It's Into the Unknown, 3-cost inkable Song. It says put chosen exerted character into their player's inkwell face down and exerted. So this is like another form of removal for Blurple, which Blurple doesn't struggle that badly with removal at the moment. It has, like, you can play Hades, you can play Let It Goes, which sure aren't the most effective forms of removal, but you've also got the 5-cost Elsa, which is super good, being able to exert something and rush down into something else. But this just seems like a solid card. Like it against a deck that wants to go long and they're starting to play big, powerful bombs. Like, sure, maybe they get to quest with the card once, but once they do that, then you use this. Or, depending on how your Blurple deck is built, you could actually exert the card straight after it's coming to play, and then you could use this to remove it. Like, you know, say you do an Elsa to exert like a big Tamatoa or something that's after coming down, and then you play into the Unknown to get rid of it. But overall, it seems like a pretty interesting card for Blurple. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's decent. I don't think it's anything to push it over the top. It is very comparable to Let It Go, just like more conditional and cheaper. And that it's not like, that's not really what Let It Go's weakness would be. I don't know. It's never like, even this version of putting something into the inkwell as removal is not this like super efficient answer. It's more like something some decks play to have like an emergency button to a threat that they really, really have to remove. All right, and that's what the card was definitely worse at, because at some points you might not have the luxury of being able to wait until they exert it for you to like stay in the game by removing it.
Sure.
So I think it's a decent card, but I'm not sure how much it really does for the color combination.
Yeah, I was gonna say this seems like I thought about it and I realized, no, this is pretty bad. I was like, oh, like you said, another emergency kind of button or card to play when you need to remove a pesky threat. And I was like, this is another way
like a shark is like one of the main examples.
Sure. Yeah, that's a much better example than I was about to say an exerted Diablo, and then I realized, oh no, because if that Diablo was shifted upon, you're just ramping your opponent for 2. Which, listen, if you really have to get rid of the card, maybe it's okay, but most of the time you don't want to be ramping your opponent 2 cards. So yeah, that's probably not the best example.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure. Wait, did I do that? I definitely have done it quite
let
a
it go.
few times where I had to like let it go at Diablo, and I think I did it in Bologna as well.
Oh wow. Fair enough. The next two cards we're looking at is the Sword of Shan Yu and Palace Guard. So the Sword of Shan Yu, it's a 1-cost inkable ruby item. It says exert this item, then exert one of your characters to ready chosen character. They can't quest for the rest of this turn. Before I get your thoughts on it, Moyen, I do want to point out there's a funny thing you can do. I don't know why you would ever want to do it, but this doesn't say ready another chosen character, so you could technically exert a character, choose the same character to just ready it. I don't know why you would ever want to do that unless that specific character said, when you ready this card, do X.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are your thoughts on this in general? Because this didn't like, I don't know, maybe I just didn't read this card properly the first time I saw it, but the more I'm kind of thinking about it, it seems like it might have some potential to be okay, especially if you're just using like a cheap character, if you're exerting a cheap character to then protect maybe a bigger character.
Yeah, I think this item can provide quite a bit of utility. Of course, re-readying the same character would just be for like something that does something when it's readied. But outside of that, I think Tipo would be one of the main use cases. Like if Tipo often just sticks around and barely does anything, and if you can just exert a Tipo to re-ready something that actually matters, maybe get a Sala a Tala to sing How Far I Go twice, or maybe you get a Shark to challenge twice, or maybe like challenge, re-ready, sing. I think there is some cool stuff you can do with the card. Of course, all of these items, you have to evaluate them with Flower Charm not existing anymore.
Sure.
Suddenly it's not just, oh, it's an inkable 1-cost item with some utility, so it has to be decent. Right now the cards actually have to do quite a bit on their own, and maybe it doesn't quite do that, but I do think this is one of the better 1-cost items we have in the game for sure.
Sure. Next one's Palace Guard. Pretty self-explanatory. It's a 1-cost inkable 1/4 Amethyst card. It quests for 1 and has Vanish. So that's the downside keyword. This doesn't impress me that much, but it's probably worth pointing out as like a decent 1-drop, because at the end of the day, if my opponent is like choosing this as a character for an action, most of the time, like especially if it's some type of like removal card, if it's not like improvise or whatever, it's also just a 1-cost 1/4. So if they want to sink something into it, they can sink something into it. So it's probably fine, right?
Yeah, this is kind of the concept we talked about a bit when Vanish came out, which is that the cheaper it is, the more okay you are with it having Vanish, because then it doesn't really get traded down on too much. Like if a Storm Mage on kids this, at least like most 1-drops would have gotten banished by Storm Mage on anyways. So if it's not exactly improvise, it's probably okay. I mean, it's not really a deck, but I would say this the best for Amber Amethyst, to have like a 1-drop that you can Rapunzel for 3 that also has a strength, because it's not Nala. But yeah, in general, I think this is a pretty good card. This is like a very, very reasonable 1-drop to include in decks in certain matters.
Sure. Next one we're going to take a look at is Fred Giant Size. This is a 7-cost inkable 5/6 quest for 3 emerald card. That's a Floodborn. It has shift 5. It says whenever this character quests, reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a Floodborn character card. Put that card into your hand and shuffle the rest of your deck. So this filters through your deck. You don't get to obviously search, but it will keep flipping cards until it finds a specific, or a Floodborn card. So when you quest with this, you're guaranteed to draw a card, especially, I mean, unless this is your only Floodborn card and you quest and there's no other Floodborns left in your deck. So yeah, I thought this was quite an interesting card to maybe fish for certain key Floodborn pieces potentially. But I think when I talked to you about it, Moyen, you didn't seem like that impressed, but I think it's actually okay.
Yeah, to me, it's probably by far the worst card we've looked at today.
Oh wow, okay. I see what you're doing.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I like the fact that you can kind of like search for flood bonds, like not really search, but if there's like some very important flood bonds in your deck that you kind of want to be finding, I guess it's kind of decent for that. But outside of that, it is just, to me, it's just too expensive for what it does.
Sure. The next card, man, this is the card I'm like the most excited about from the entire set, and the viewers will know why. So it's Stopped Chaos in its track. It's an 8-cost inkable Emerald Song. Sing together 8. Return up to 2 chosen characters with 3 strength or less to each or to their player's hand. So I'm like, okay, we'll play like a 1 or 2 of copy of this with an Amber Emerald, and suddenly this allows us to deal with cards that sometimes, if you don't have the Kita, can be a little bit annoying to deal with if you don't have like the Kita Under the Sea. So an example is, let's say you're against Amber Steel and they've got like a Smee and a big Robin Hood out. As an Amber Emerald player, if you don't have like Bruno, or if you don't specifically have like the Kita Under the Sea, or if you don't have like Painting the Roses Under the Sea, it's pretty difficult. So Stop Chaos' tracks, this seems like it could fit into that deck. It's probably the deck that it fits into the best. I don't think you need to play loads of these. I really don't think this card is like insanely good, but I think as a 1 or 2 of it might be okay. And of course, you also have the versatility where it's not just your opponent's cards that you can be bouncing. Like you can still bounce your own cards. So of course, you usually have Muses and Ariel that will do that for you. But there's a really weird niche scenario where this will rarely come up. But now with this, you can actually move your Ariel to the Cove, and then if you wanted to, you could actually bounce the Ariel back, because we'll have 3 strength instead of 2, which sometimes, you move your Ariel to the Cove and you're like, oh crap, I can't bounce it back to my hand with my Muses anymore. Very, very, very niche scenario, but it's something to think about. So, Moyen, as a player who hasn't played too much Amber Emerald, but you've definitely played against a lot of it, do you see that, like, honest opinion, and if you say it's trash, it won't see play, I'm fine to hear that as well. Do you think this might potentially fit into the deck as like a 1 or 2 of copy, or do you think what's going to happen is people will test it and be like, no, the other card's just better?
Probably the latter.
Yep.
It's like the floor of the card's pretty high, right? It's an inkable song. So it doesn't need. If it comes up every now and then, it's already not the worst. But I think most of the time it's like much more efficient if you can just set up your Muses to do the work of this and then sing songs that draw cards. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy there's like finally a new card that is at least worth trying.
Sure.
But maybe it doesn't quite make the cut in the end.
This is even better than the card that we revealed that was like supposedly, maybe a card.
Yeah, this is more likely.
I would have preferred to reveal this card because I would have been a bit more excited about this one, but yeah, it's cool. I'll test it, but I have a feeling it will end up being exactly what you said. I would just rather play some song cards that will just draw me other cards. Moving on to the next ones, we have Wrong Lever and Pull the Lever. So Pull the Lever we talked about last week. It's the 3-cost inkable Amethyst Emerald Dual Link card action. It says choose 1, draw 2 cards, or each opponent chooses and discards a card. So basically Friends, except it's not singable, which is a massive difference. And similar to Hypnotize, except it doesn't draw you a card. It just makes your opponent discard a card. So I would say most of the time, you're probably just drawing the 2 cards rather than just making your opponent discard a card with this. But Moyen, I want you to read out Wrong Lever, because there's a reason why you would play Pull the Lever if you're playing Wrong Lever, because there's a really, really cool effect with it.
So Wrong Lever is a 3-cost inkable action that says choose 1. Return chosen character to their player's hand, which is just like a Mother Knows Best, but inkable, and not on the song. Or put a card named Pull the Lever from your discard on the bottom of your deck to put chosen character on the bottom of their player's deck. Which at that point, when you do have a Pull the Lever in your discard to put to the bottom, it is like premier removal. For 3-cost inkable to bottom deck a character. That is extremely strong. That being said, Pull the Lever is a little bit slow to make up for that. But the combination of the two still seems quite intriguing to me. Even if it forces you to play like, you can only really play this in Emerald Amethyst.
Yep.
But I could see this being played in Emerald Amethyst. I think it can kind of fit this mid-rangey playstyle. So these are some of the cards I'm more excited about.
Sure. I don't know if we'll see them have too much impact right now in the current meta. Maybe we'll see people experiment with it. But like we were talking about, when removal might seem like it's at a premium once set rotation comes out. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe this will shine even more then within certain Emerald Amethyst builds. The next set of cards we're going to be talking about, the first one is Down in New Orleans. It's a 6-cost uninkable Sapphire Song. And it says, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may reveal a character, item, or location card would cost 6 or less and play it for free. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So a lot of people have been saying that this seems like quite a good card for Sapphire. It's not inkable, which is it is very, very important. But when I talked to you about this card at first, Moyen, you were like, oh, it's okay, but it's it's only the top 3 cards of your deck. But
yeah,
how likely are you to find a character, item, or location card? It's probably quite likely. I thought about this card.
That costs 6 or less.
That costs 6 or less. Sure. So you want to be hitting something very impactful. So the item, most of the time, that doesn't matter. The character, maybe you want to pull something like a Maui Shark. And then the location, the best location you want to pull is probably a manor, right? So character is probably the best thing you're hitting with this, and you want it to be a very decently statted character. Or this could also like help you fish for a Maui, pull a Maui out. That seems like it could be an okay situation. But yeah, tell me your overall thoughts.
Yeah, so I'm not in love with the card because it's extremely swingy, right? It's like some of the time you'll like play Tipo into Tala, sing this, and just get a shark out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And some other times you like get a setup to sing a song. Maybe you'll exert your shark and into dangerous territory in hoping for like a lot of tempo, and then you miss completely. Like right now, I'm just looking at my recent Ruby Sapphire list that I've been testing. It's like half of the deck is kind of actions.
Sure. Yeah.
And it kind of needs to be a lot of actions for Shark to work. Then I also think about, okay, I guess there's Scar, there's Big Sisu, that are also more expensive. And then there's also the cards that are like so cheap that I really wouldn't be happy to exert Sing Together 6 to get them off. But like, yes, the upside is definitely there. If you get like, you probably in a deck like that, you would play like 4 Tamatoas, 4 Half Sharks, the Manas. There's a lot of good stuff that you can get out of it. But I almost like hope that it's not good enough because it seems very much a gamble that can swing the game in either way or in either direction. And maybe okay, this is just like the first impression, right? Does it slot into what we have right now? Maybe you can like build a deck around this somewhat where you make it a lot more consistent. But unless we know the cards that are coming, I don't think it's ever going to be like that consistent.
Sure. No, I think that's fair. And it's also very important to remember, like I said, this is a big, like a high cost, uninkable song. So this will naturally be very vulnerable to cards like 2-cost Emerald Ursula. Like that's just going to be sniping this card out of your hand a lot. The same way that B-Prep is often quite vulnerable to that card. So it is worth keeping in mind. This next card we have on the screen. Don't worry, guys. This is not a good card. I just wanted to highlight this card because I feel a lot of people have been saying they think this is a good card. Maybe a lot of people have just been highlighting it though, because I will say the art is sick. The art on this card is very, very, very cool. But I wanted to come on here and say, if you think this is a good card, it's not a good card in my opinion. And I think you kind of agree, Moyen. Like, Mr. Smee is better in so many ways, nearly infinitely better than this card. Because compare this in a situation when, let's say, I don't know, you're on 17 lore, 18 lore, and you top deck a card, and you want to play, I've got Mr. Smee to 3-3, might be pretty difficult for them to remove. I'll put this down. They can't win the game. I've won the game. You draw this, you've got like nothing on board. Like you could like, oh, is this gonna finish the game and win the game for you? No, it's not. So For that reason, and that's a very, very important reason, also just thinking about, potentially playing this on turn 2, how many, like, 1-drops are you going to have to, like, trade into something, or and how often, especially, like, say if you're going first, like, it's not going to really work, where, like, you'll play a 1-drop, they'll play a 1-drop, their 1-drop's not going to be exerted.
Yeah.
So
what, you'll be sad.
Yeah. I just feel like you're never playing this on turn 2, and if that's the case, then this just doesn't seem like a great card to me.
Yeah, it's like, you can't really play this on the draw unless you're cooperating with your opponent. They also don't have to exert to make you, like, to allow you to play this on turn 2.
And you'll also lose your 1-drop most of the time, right? Unless you've got a 1/3 that hits into something and it just about survives, right?
Mm-hmm. So if it's not good early and it can brick your hand late, it would need to be, like, incredible between that.
Yeah.
Where you, like, have a very cheap way to be able to allow you to play this, and then you flood the board with this plus something. I don't think this can ever be so incredible to offset it being bad on turn 2 and being bad
in the late game.
Late in the game.
Yep, I agree. The last 2 cards we're going to be talking about, it's Beyond the Horizon and Namari. So Beyond the Horizon is a 7-cost uninkable steel card. It's synced together 7. It says choose any number of players. They discard their hands and draw 3 cards each. So your first thought when you saw this, you were like, Prince John, bam. So, I mean, do you know what's interesting about this? Mm-hmm. It is very comparable to Bend to My Will, except it seems kind of almost like a better Bend to My Will. Obviously, you're giving them 3 cards after, which isn't great, but you could basically sing this, like, for free. Of course, you have to exert some of your characters, and then if you're playing a general discard deck as well, maybe you can, like, even discard some of the cards they've then drawn potentially. And also, it's important to note that you don't have, like, this is kind of also like a one-sided, it can be a one-sided thing, or you can make it affect yourself as well. Mm-hmm. But you can just make your opponent discard, and then if you got discard songs yourself or whatever, make them discard the rest of the cards they've kind of drawn. So it seems interesting. I don't know, like, how impactful this card is necessarily going to be. What is kind of funny is if you think about the legendary Ursula with this, right? That would sing this twice. So if you had, like, a legendary Ursula, a John on this, let's say something else. Mm-hmm. So you had a John on the board. They discard their hand, they'll draw 3, they'll discard 3 again, and then they'll draw 3. So that's kind of funny. And this also starts to think about, okay, this is just an extra thing in, like, in a certain kind of mill package, if you think about it. Like, this suddenly makes milling, you're not making them draw as many cards as a whole new world, but it can maybe fit into a type of deck like that. So do you think there's a lot of, like, maybe a lot more versatility in this card than maybe people would initially think? Do you think maybe it's just, like, is it, like, really overstated, it's not going to see that much play? I think people will experiment with this for sure.
Yeah, well, what this does do is, like, it's kind of, it's very comparable to Whole New World. To me, it's kind of like a more fair Whole New World. Mm-hmm. But also, as you said, I think it is more versatile, because when you are on a lot of cards, you can just say, okay, I don't have to discard. I'm happy to play out this hand. I don't have to, like, discard my high value cards to enable me to play this. But also, when your opponent's on very little cards, you can just say, okay, like, because maybe they were playing around a Whole New World type effect, you can say, yeah, I'll be the only one to discard and draw 3. So I like the versatility and decision making this enables. The, like, power ceiling is, of course, so much lower than Whole New World that I can't really see this compete with it too much. But yeah, it's still a really, really cool card, I think.
Definitely, yeah. And it, like, I mean, we're thinking about green steel, right? Because since you were talking about Prince John, but in a general amber steel build as well, it's like this card, of course, is going to be better, because what's crazy is 1-drop Cindy and 2-cost Ursula. Just those 2 can sing this card together. Yeah. Which that's kind of scary if you think about it. If you're against a greedy deck that's, like, you know, keeping their hand, they're not playing to the board too much in the early game, and you're just like, bam, discard your hand on turn 3. That's nothing to joke about. So I'm curious to see how people will kind of utilize the card, to be honest. And then we've got Namari. It's a 5-cost inkable steel card. It's a 0/5 that quests for 2. It says when you play this character and at the start of your turn, you may draw a card, then choose and discard a card. So this is like the kind of filtering mechanic. And then it also says this character gets +1 strength for each card in your discard. So people might look at this and be like, oh my god, this has the potential to be absolutely massive, like huge amounts of strength. And sure, I guess that's cool, but like, what's that really achieving? There's really not that many cards that care about cards having so much strength. The only ones I can really think about is like, obviously we had Flynn, that's kind of gone out of the meta a little bit now. There is like the Baloo, the Ruby Baloo that says, I think your characters with 7 strength or more can't be damaged, which is a little bit interesting, but there's so many other ways that you can remove Namari besides damage. You don't have to, like, your opponent can't just like Zeus it. They could like World's Greatest Criminal Mind it, they can Hades it, they can Dragon it, although those aren't like great ways to remove it. So I don't know, maybe if you want to build a Ruby Steel deck where you want the centerpiece is playing Baloo to protect your Namari, maybe it's okay, but I think this card is kind of comparable to Beast, right? Beast being the 5-cost inkable 3/5 quest or 2 that draws a card at the start of your turn, and also when it's damaged, it gets quite a nice amount of strength. And that card is less in the meta now. It's still in the green steel decks. It's still definitely a playable card, but yeah. What are your thoughts on like just this card compared to Beast in general?
I mean, I don't really rate this card because it doesn't generate card advantage.
Sure.
On other than that, it is similar in how much it costs and questing for 2 being inkable. But I don't rate the draw discard highly enough to kind of justify the expense of playing this. Yeah, so I don't really rate this card.
Sure, no, that's fair. All right, that's all of the cards that we're going to look at today. Let's move on to looking at some top performing set champs deck lists.
So in this section, we'll just look at a few of the set champs winning lists that were involving the most amount of players. We won't look into them in too much detail, but it was just like a way to highlight some winning lists from the community. And the first one to look at was from a 54-player set champs by Luca, and they were playing an aggressive Amethyst Steel, including the Doc Genie kind of package, which has, in my opinion, been like the staple way to play aggressive Amethyst Steel recently. I think one thing that does stand out to me is the 3 Smash in this list. So I'm curious to hear what you guys, or what do you think about this list?
Yeah, no, I think it's very, very good. I also agree that the Doc Genie package is kind of the way to go. It's been my preferred way to play this Amethyst Steel build. This Smash is interesting. My thoughts of why that card's potentially in the deck is maybe they were expecting a high amount of Emerald Steel or Amber Steel. Smash is a way to interact with Ariel and the 3-cost legendary Ursula, which can be kind of problematic for this deck if those types of cards get to stick around, because Ariel gets to sing some powerful song removal cards, and the legendary Ursula, of course, being able to double sing to remove some threats. So that's probably my thought pattern as to why that card's in there. But I'm glad to see they performed well with the list. 54 players is nothing to scoff at. Exactly, yeah, 100%. So it's pretty impressive that they managed to do with this list, and yeah, I think having the extra Smash in there it's nice to see.
Yeah, it's super interesting to me. It's like usually the first tech that people play when they want to tech for, like Diablo, for example, would be the Peter Pan, Shadow or Shadow Finder. Always mix them up.
Whichever one. I don't even know. People will know which one.
Okay, the Peter Pan, the yes. Playable one.
Yeah.
And that card is the better exchange into exactly Diablo, but I honestly rated that they decided to run the Smash, which is like, even if it's worse against Diablo, it doesn't quite create the same swing against it. It is both inkable and also deals with some of the other threats in the meta, and they just say, okay, if I can slow down some of these decks, even if I'm not like Ruby Sapphire deck that tries to brawl these threats away, I think Amethyst Steel is very, very capable of winning the drawn-out games as well against some of these decks like Emerald Steel, Amber Steel, as long as they can get through some of the early game a little bit better. So I do kind of rate the Smash. the other version of like playing Amethyst Steel with like Rabbits and Zeus, I think has its merit because it can kind of even compete the long game against exactly like Shark, Ruby, Sapphire. But in general, I would also expect a list like this to perform better.
Makes sense. The next list we're going to take a look at. Oh, when I saw this, I was just like, yes. Another brother has won a set champs with the deck. So yeah, this is a Emerald Amber discard deck by Edvin. This was a 51 player set champs, and this list is just like, it's like chef's kiss for me, honestly. It's perfect. I see the 2-cost Ursula, 2-cost Sir Hiss, 2/2 split, which I love to see. I see 2 Cricky, I see a Lucifer, I see one of World's Greatest Criminal Mind for all those pesky Maui Sharks. And also, I haven't really been playtesting this list too much because I pretty much refined it. But I'm also, in this specific meta, heavily leaning towards the World's Greatest Criminal Mind over the Mother Knows Best, because while the Mother Knows Best is a little bit more versatile and can kind of interact with a lot more cards, World's Greatest Criminal Mind is a very clean answer to the 5-cost Emerald Steel Shift Pete, which can be a big problem for this deck if you're playing against Emerald Steel. Emerald Steel is a pretty rough matchup anyways, so like against Shark it's pretty good. Against the Pete, World's Greatest Criminal Mind is particularly strong. So I really can't fault this list. I think this is a near perfect list. It's built in a very clear way, and yeah, I'm just really happy to see this. I will maybe have to do a count. Maybe I'm a tad scared this is 61. I don't think it is 61 because no, I'm pretty sure this is 60, but I'm just really happy to see it. I can tell that Moyen is counting right now as I'm speaking about it. It's 60. Okay, I was about to freak out for a second because it seems like they fit a lot of stuff in there. But I think that's just because they've got the 2 Cricky and the 1 Lucifer. It looks like there's a lot more kind of extra characters than what's usually in here. But I really can't fault this deck list. I think it's really good, and I still think that this deck is going to have some legs in set 8. I don't think too much is going to change. I don't think we're going to be really adding that 8-cost 8-cost Inkable Sing Together song. But yeah, I'll have one more hurrah with this deck next set, and then it will be lost to time unless I'll probably still bring this if I ever play Infinity Constructed as well, just so I have an excuse to play it. The next list that we're going to take a look at is actually a Blurple list. This was a 33-player set champs event that was won by Kayu. I'm not too sure how to pronounce it. And yeah, Moyen, I'm going to let you just quickly break down this list and talk about it, because there's some really cool sprinklings of cards in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main evolution in Blurple is kind of just like the 4 Yago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that has quite improved the deck. Outside of that, this deck list is kind of trying to do a lot, but also I think it will be very good at like catching people off guard at times when suddenly there's like a lot of weird things that you don't necessarily expect to play around. Suddenly there's like a Cusco for item removal, the Donald if you think you're close enough to win the game, the Ursula to stop you from like exerting to sing songs, and there's a lot of cool stuff in this. And then outside of that it is just like against mid-range decks that I can compete quickly if it can get down like an early Yago for tempo. And against longer drawn-out games, it's also has an abundance of card draw. It can at times be like too slow to kind of keep up with what their opponents are doing. Especially Amber Steel is a deck that can give this deck a lot of trouble. But this looks like a very fun way to play Blurple.
For sure, yeah. I'm yet to touch Blurple. Well, I've like messed around with it in like earlier sets, but I'm yet to really dive into it. And I think if I were to just like pick up a deck and like mess around with it, it'd probably be this one. I like to see a little bit of spice. And like you say, it really can compete with a lot of the mid-range decks. So yeah, if you guys are interested in checking out Blurple or trying it, like I would recommend giving this deck a shot, because like Moyen says, it looks like a lot of fun for sure.
Yep. And in general, I'm just looking at these lists again. I think the bands kind of did exactly what they were meant to do. I think we have a much more diverse meta now. Of course, I've said every episode, I'm sad Sapphire Steel took the bullet. But in general, I think this is a much healthier meta that we live in now.
All right, yes, that was all of the deck lists that we wanted to talk about today. Like Moyen said, very, very diverse meta, which is nice to see. So, Moyen, what are your thoughts on this final Set 7 meta as we approach Set 8? And more importantly, I mean, for us at least, what's upcoming for us is we have the UK Games Expo tournament, which is going to be taking place on the weekend of the Set 8 pre-release, but it's going to be the last major Set 7 tournament that we're going to play, and it will really kind of, I think it's a nice ending to Set 7. It will round off the meta quite nicely. The pricing is also very, very cool. First place gets a booster box, one booster box of every single set, so that's sets 1 to Set 8. You also get like a 2025 convention playmat and stuff, so I'm just excited to compete again. I haven't really competed in the Lorcana tournament in quite some time, and also I know a lot of people from not just like the UK and Ireland, but also Europe that are going to travel over for this event. So it'll just be nice to see some familiar faces again. But yeah, as we move into this tournament, how do you feel about this, as we mentioned, like this diverse meta overall? And yeah, like what do you anticipate the tournament to look like? Like, do you think there's even a way that you can like relatively predict what's going to be like the most played deck in a sense, or not really?
How big's the tournament again?
I believe, I will have to double check this. I believe it's 128 players, but tell me your thoughts and I'm going to double check in the meantime.
Sure. So kind of like there's more variance in predicting tournament field if it's less players, but I mean, in general, yes, while it is a diverse meta, I do think there's some decks that are still have a distinct advantage over the others. I would say, like, I would expect the following decks to do well, probably like Ruby Sapphire, Ruby Amethyst, Amber Steel, which are kind of like color combinations we've had around for a long time. But honestly, I think there's like a billion decks that could do well at the moment. And with no like huge tournaments to play for, it kind of gives everyone the space and room to play the deck that they enjoy the most.
Sure, I actually double checked that. It's going to be 192 players that are playing, and it is going to be a 2-game format. And I believe, how many rounds of Swiss would that be? That's probably like 7 or 8 rounds of Swiss, I think, if it's only 192 players. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be fun. Like I said, it's going to be a nice way to round it off. I think that's a very safe prediction of what you said are going to be like the top played decks, but it makes a lot of sense. And I'm excited to move into the Set 8 meta to really see, like, one last time, how much our decks actually going to develop before rotation, right? Like, we've always had this in, like, you know, pretty much like Set 5, Set 6, Set 7. We've seen very slight adaptations. I think maybe one of the bigger ones was Set 6, because I think Set 6 was when we got like the DKP red-blue list, but is that the set that we actually got like Tipo and Sail as well? I think Tipo was Set 5, right? And then Sail was Set 6. So we got some pretty impactful Sapphire ramp cards that really definitely made Sapphire good. So those were interesting to see how they kind of impacted the meta. The rest of the color combinations, I honestly, like, just thinking off of the top of my head and like thinking about a lot of the cards that are played in the current meta, like there's not too many really good staple cards that came from those sets. Like, I can think in Steel, like Doc is played a lot in some kind of aggressive strategy decks. Iago is definitely a big card that we saw from the previous set. Like, that's probably the card from the last set that has made the most impact.
But I guess Tamatoa is still decent even without Flower Charm, but like Tamatoa, Iago were definitely big additions.
Bell was a big addition, you know.
Bell was big. I mean, it's still decent in exactly Blurple.
Yep.
But yeah, it was incredible with Fortisphere Popsicle. And in general, I just want to say, like, the tournament, yes, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also very much looking forward to the expo.
Me too.
I think last year was the first time we both, definitely the first time I attended it, and it was just so much fun. They are together trying out all the new games, so I can recommend the expo to anyone.
For the record, by the way, for those of you listening, Moyen didn't even come over to play in the Lorcana event last year. So there was a Lorcana event happening. He came over to play in One Piece. I think you said like you just like dropped after like 3 rounds or something, right?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I was doing very, very well in One Piece, but I was like kind of phasing out of One Piece, playing less and less. And this was just kind of like, okay, I guess I'll play the tournament still. And then I think maybe I where I went like 1-2 in the first 3 rounds, and like I didn't play enough to play better, but I was still good enough that I knew I win all of these rounds if I'm just not bad at or like if I played the game or if I'm not bad at the game.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, I'm 1-2 out of contention, and then I dropped and just played Lorcana. And since I haven't really played too much One Piece anymore.
Sure, yeah. No, that like Expo last year was like so much fun. We had a blast. We got to play like Altered for the first time, which is really fun. We also played some Star Wars. I think that was that might have been one of the first times you actually ever played Star Wars. You did a bit of Star Wars draft with us, which was hilarious because we're all like, reading the cards, passing the cards. And of course, Moyen hasn't played the game. So Moyen's there like reading and reading and reading. And we're like, come on, Jan, come on, pass the cards along. He's just reading and reading.
That was. I mean, in general, I like to have be able to take my time. But they all know the game, and then someone needs I think someone needed to catch their flight, so we needed to play quickly. I was like, I don't even know what these cards do. Can I at least read them?
I think you still won out of all of us, though. I think you got the most wins in the little pod that we did. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully, I don't think we'll get to play any at this expo, but I would. One thing I'm looking forward to is at least maybe talking to some people about Riftbound, which is the new League of Legends TCG that will be releasing this October. That would be cool to actually try out if they had a demo section for that. And yeah, just seeing all the cool like board games and booths and stalls. And of course, we're going to have, for those of you who don't know, my fiance Kim, she will be doing a cosplay as the Rapunzel, the Emerald Legendary Rapunzel from Set 8 Reign of Jafar, which also got like a really, really, really nice enchanted card. Which apparently she made a tweet that I promised her I'm going to buy her a playset of, which I definitely did not say those words, but maybe she'll try her best to hold me to that. But yeah, this could be a great time, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. With that, yeah, that's pretty much the end of the episode. So thank you all so much for watching and for listening. The number one thing that you guys can do to support this podcast is like the video and leave us a review over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your local podcast platform. There is a video version of this available over on youtube.com/@PodcanaPodcast. Hit the subscribe while you're there. Twitters are @Moyen_HS and @Kawatech_CG. Thank you guys so much for watching. And Moyen wants to say something before we close out.
Yeah, just last closing thoughts, because like Spildink was super small. There wasn't a lot of questions on the last episode, but there was a billion nice comments about supporting us for getting through the 100 episodes, and I just wanted to thank the listeners as well. And I think we've come a long way, but we have good things coming as well.
For sure. That's awesome. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. We'll catch you guys in the next one.